What I want to do this morning is ask the question, who is Satan? Now, most of you, if you have, with King James background, if you go to the book of Isaiah, what you're going to find in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12, is we read where Isaiah writes, "Oh, how you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning." That's King James Version, okay? And when you talk to a preacher, and television audience, this is what I want you to do. Those of you here this morning, this is what I want you to do. How many times have you ever heard that Satan's name is Lucifer? Okay? Some of you are shaking your heads, yes, I know. And those of you who are here this morning, how many times have you heard a preacher tell you that Satan's name is Lucifer and take you to this passage of Scripture? Well, yeah, you see so many of them. Yeah, I see some heads doing that. Well, this is the story. There you have it, folks. Isaiah 14, verse 12, Satan's real name is Lucifer, and at one time he was the Lord's most perfect angel years ago, back in eternity, and this Lucifer had everything going for him, but he rebelled against God, and he was cast down to the earth and all that, and that's the story of Lucifer. The majority of the people in our society have heard that story, all right? I want to start this morning by separating the facts from the fiction. I want to start with the fiction, okay? Isaiah 14:12. Those of you with the New International, your version doesn't read this way, and I'm going to tell you that in a little bit as to why, or maybe it's American Standard why. I'll tell you why. But Isaiah 14:12 in the King James Version of the Bible, as well as the Reims Douay version, which is the Catholic version of the Bible, which was translated out of Latin, both of these versions have, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning." Now, is Isaiah saying that the devil's name is Lucifer? Yeah. Isn't that what he's saying? That's the devil's name, right? Every preacher that you know of, or many preachers that you know of, are advocating that every day. You can pick up books by Kay Arthur. You can pick up books by Benny Hinn. You can pick up books by most of your major denominational preachers, and you will find, if they're doing a story on demonology or Satan or angels, they're going to talk about Lucifer being the devil. Okay? I want you to go back with me this morning, all the way back to the 2nd century. I want you to meet a man by the name of Origen Adamantius. That's a $40 name, okay? I don't want to get into his background a whole lot, but I just want to say to you that he was a theologian living, between the 2nd and the 3rd century there. And one of the things he did was he belonged to a very mystical version of the church in Alexandria, Egypt, that's where the Coptic Christian church is today over in Egypt, and they believe in all sorts of different things. You look it up online if you want to. But he developed a method of interpreting the Bible way back when that was based upon allegory. In other words, this is like that. And what he would do is he said that because of 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 23, when Paul's talking about the spirit, soul, and the body, that scriptures are a triad as well. You have several things in the scriptures. When you interpret the scripture, you approach them with 3 different things. You have a literal meaning of the scriptures, then you have a moral meaning of the scriptures, then you have a mystical meaning of the scriptures. Now, he advocated this allegorical method. Now, in the book of, let me show you what he did. Over in the book of Solomon, or Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15, it reads, "Tell us the foxes, take us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vine. Our vines have tender grapes." Now, on the surface, this is a poetic language used by Solomon as he's writing this about his lover and what have you. And when we get to this, I want you to see something. This is how he interpreted this. He said that on a literal level, there are real foxes and there are real vines. Hey, I'll agree with that, right? But on the moral level, the foxes that destroy the vines are the sins that corrupt the soul or the vines, okay? So the foxes are being representative of sin, and the vines are representative of the soul on the moral level. On the mystical level, the foxes are the heresies that beset the church. So the foxes are heresies, the church is the vines. And so that's how he interpreted things. Now, one of the things that Origen was doing was he was going through the scriptures, and he got over to the book of Isaiah, and he got to chapter 14, verse 12. And when he got there, he saw this Hebrew phrase. It was Hillel ben Shachar. And what he was looking at when he read that, he says, well, ben Shachar, that simply means son of the morning. But what about Hillel? What does that mean? How should I interpret Hillel? Well, he was asking himself, what is Isaiah talking about here? Now, I want you to remember that Origen says there's more than face value to scriptures. So as he got to looking at this again, he got to say, whoa, wait a minute. He fell from heaven. Sounds like the devil to me. You said to yourself that I'm going to ascend to heaven. I'm going to set my throne above the stars of God. I'm going to be like the Most High. He says, man, that's got to be the devil, doesn't it? And Origen began that idea that the word Hillel ben Shachar was Satan. And so he began to allegorize Isaiah the 14th chapter and teach that. And all this is documented. Now what happened is, on the face of everything, his allegorical interpretation began to catch on. And what happened is other church fathers, such as Tertullian and what have you, began to advocate Satan, which prior to Origen never was mentioned in the scriptures in Isaiah 14. But these church fathers started listening to Origen and his writings, and for 200 years they began to teach that Hillel ben Shachar in Isaiah 14 was none other than the devil, Satan, and that was his name. So what happens after that, I want you to jump forward about 400 years. You meet a fellow by the name of Jerome. Now Jerome was a scholar. And what happened is the Pope of about 382 AD, I think it was, Pope Damasus I, he began to look around and he says, you know, all the Bibles that we have in Latin, they all say something different. So Jerome, what I want you to do is I want you to compile one version of the Bible in Latin that we can use in all the churches, kind of a Latin version of the King James, you know, an authorized version. And so that's what he did. And Jerome says, well, you know, that's good. I need to take a break because I've been out fighting heretics. You know, I've been fighting against all these people, a guy by the name of Cerinthius, this fella here, you know, how do you say his name? I forgot exactly, Tanus or something like that. Anyway, that's the guy he was fighting against. And, you know, he says, I need the break. I need to do all of this. And so he goes over and he starts translating Isaiah 14 for the Latin Vulgate. And when he gets there, he gets to that word Hillel once again. And that word Hillel, he begins to look at it, and he says, you know, I know that word Hillel in the Hebrew means the morning star. Okay? I know that's what it means. Now, if I translate that literally, I'm going to use the word main stella, which simply means main, morning, stella, star. That's Latin, okay? That's what I'm going to translate this as. But he got to thinking about it a little bit here, and he began to say, no, wait a minute. As I look at this, I need to understand this, that he's not talking about a name here. He's talking about the planet Venus, which was the morning star. That's the one that you saw in the morning rising as the earth began its rotation. And in Latin, they had a name for the morning star. They called it the bringer of light. Guess what the name was? Lucifer. And so he began to say, well, the bringer of light, if I use that term, Lucifer, that settles it, right? No. He could have translated it Venus. He could have translated it the morning star. But you remember that guy that he had the argument with? The heretic that he fought against? The guy that was the thorn in the flesh, you know? As you look at this fellow, Caloritanus, you know what his first name is? Lucifer. Now here's a mean trick, folks. What Jerome did was when he translated Hillel ben Shachar, he translated the word Lucifer, and he injected his old nemesis into a passage of scripture that everybody said, well, that's the devil. That's a mean trick.